Suck it up. Be strong. Act like a man. All my life, whenever I wanted to express my emotions, I was told to hide them, as if they didn't exist. Wherever I lived, in India, in United Arab Emirates, and in United States, the pressure is everywhere. Hello everyone, my name is Happy, and today I'm going to talk about something that is not very happy. Emotional suppression in men. I was 15 and it was the festive Diwali season in India. And one night, when I was playing with my siblings, my mom called my dad to take an urgent phone call. And after he hung up, he said these words, "Raju is gone." My uncle, who just turned 30, died in a fatal car accident. In a few moments, my home was filled with relatives. My mom was crying uncontrollably. And while everybody else was busy consoling her, I stood frozen in a corner. I didn't know what to feel, what it means to lose someone, or how to help my mom, who was in deep pain. Next morning, as I walked into my grandparents' courtyard, I saw my uncle's motionless body wrapped in a pure white cloth. The accident was so brutal that his body was literally pieced back together, and I could not even see him. And at this moment, I realized I had lost him forever. And I wanted to cry. I wanted to let it all out. But when I looked around, I saw on one side, women were openly expressing their grief. On the other, men stood in stoic silence. And I remained stuck in the center of that courtyard, between the wailing women and the silent men, not sure which way to go, to follow the emotions within or the man outside. I looked at my grandfather, who stood like a rock. That day, for me, he was a strong pillar of my family. And so I grew up with this notion that strong men don't cry, they don't express. Years passed by, and he never spoke of that day again. At that time, neither him nor I realized the heavy cost of this silence and buried emotion, which led to his depression and dementia. And I lost my grandfather too. And this loss taught me a very important lesson in life, that emotional suppression is not a strength. In my life, I came across many emotionally repressed men, both personally and professionally. And I saw three main concerns. First, emotional repression leads to lack of intimacy in relationships. A recent research indicates that 60% of men don't share their true feelings with anyone. My friend Amruta would often complain that she feels distant from her husband, who never shares anything. And meanwhile, for him, it's not even an issue. And this is not just their story. This is a story of millions of relationships around the world. How can we expect our men to be loving fathers, affectionate brothers, if they are not ready to be vulnerable? And this brings me to my second point, that is mental health. emotional repression leads to a whole bunch of mental health issues. And the most prominent of those is loneliness. A recent survey on American Life indicates that most men today have 3 or fewer close friends. This emotional isolation prevents the authentic human connection we all long for. So emotional repression is not good for relationships, it's not good for mental health, and it's not good for society. Why? Because emotional repression leads to lack of empathy. If you cannot feel the humanity within, you will not be able to see the humanity outside. And this lack of empathy fuels many of the ugly problems in our society. Sexual assault, violence, terrorism, and even wars. Scary, right? Well, now you might wonder what causes this emotional suppression in men. Well, it's not that men don't have emotions. Latest research indicates men have emotions just like women. But society dictates how men should behave, express, or even feel. If you Google masculine traits, you won't be surprised to find words like aggression, dominance, and lack of consideration for others. And this image of masculinity is propagated throughout, in books, in movies, in ads. And it is this rigid and toxic definition of masculinity that leads to many of the undesirable behaviors in men today, including emotional suppression. And men are not born this way. At a young age, boys are as emotionally expressive as girls. But when they grow up, the pressure to conform to these norms also increases. Sensitive men are often labeled feminine, weak, or gay. And when we judge men this way, we are not only judging men, we are also judging our women and LGBTQ community as well. And so most boys grow up with this pressure of to be strong and this fear of bullying. So what do? They put a mask of masculinity. Suffocating, right? It is. And when men cannot express themselves, they turn to ugly ways. Gambling, addiction, and even suicide. Globally, on average, a man kills himself every minute. Think about that. Now today, I'm not asking all of you guys to start crying. Just for the record, I want everybody to be happy, men and women. That's literally is my name. But my point is that today, men do not have access to a full range of their emotions, to have both positive and negative. Now, what can we do? Well, first, men have to act. Men have to normalize emotional openness and accept it's okay to be not okay. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Women have been doing this for ages, right? And second, family and friends have to support too. Create safe spaces where everyone can share. And the key here is active listening. I ask all of you, when you go back today, find a man in your life and ask them how they are doing. And just listen without judgment. And that's all what you need to do. And third, the most difficult and heaviest responsibility falls on our teachers and parents, as usual. We need to change the narrative we have been telling our boys what it means to be a man. It starts young. We need to teach our young boys and girls that crying is not a weakness. It's a human thing. After all, we all have tear ducts, right? Together, let's create a world where men are free to love, laugh, and cry without judgment. So, being a man doesn't mean wearing a mask. Thank you.